You on the Moors Now tells the story of what would happen if Joe March, Jane Eyre, Kathy Earnshaw, and Lizzie Bennet rejected their marriage proposals and instead ran away together. This show is a wild subversion of these classic stories, challenging the expectations of gender, love, and time and space. You on the Moors Now is a wild ride from start to finish, and so is my time as its production stage manager. This show was massive, with over 150 props and one of our department's most ambitious sets. As the characters traversed their treacherous new lives, the actors climbed all over our playground of a stage. This not only made us have to increase our safety precautions, it also made tracking blocking much more complicated than normal. Luckily, as the show progressed, the platforms began to have their own nicknames, such as Girl Camp, and I made sure to check in daily with my actors about any safety concerns. This show is extremely movement-heavy, with full fight choreography along with a 5-minute movement piece. To make sure everything was accurately communicated, I utilized video recordings of movement-heavy areas, in addition to my blocking notes. The fight scene was also one of the most complicated parts to call, with non-stop light and sound cues. Because of the intense nature of the fight, we weren't able to run it more than a few times during tech, since it was so exhausting for the actors. Cues were called off with fast lines, one after another, and cues from my deck ASMs. The entire production was very cue-heavy, which was a challenge for me as this was my first time calling a show. Thankfully, our lighting designer was super understanding and patient. My board ops were also very attentive and were happy to practice complicated sessions with me during dry tech. During our first and second performances, my headset broke, making me unable to communicate with my board ops and deck crew. Luckily, we noticed almost immediately both nights, and I was able to switch to a new headset before any major cues were missed. After the second show, I was permanently switched to a handheld headset, instead of my faulty wall one. While this was super unnerving for me both times, I'm really proud of how me and my team were able to get back on track with the audience being none the wiser. While You on the Moors Now is a written piece, it was originally devised, and that origin carried heavily into our production. Everything was constantly changing, from the set itself to countless props being added and dropped every rehearsal. Additionally, we were working with guest faculty and student designers, many of whom were designing for the first time. This made comprehensive rehearsal reports and efficient production meetings even more important. I also assigned one of my ASMs to focus specifically on props, ensuring that the student designers had direct communication and any extra help when needed. In addition to the challenges the production itself raised, I also had to navigate being a full-time student along with being a production stage manager. Additionally, I was also stage managing a separate student production during the initial months of the show. This was a huge challenge for me, but with a lot of time management and support from my friends, I was able to balance everything. This was my first time stage managing on this level, and only my second show at college, and I'm still so honored by the trust the department had in me. While this show is one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced, conquering it allowed me to finally accept that stage management was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.